Hi guys, and welcome to the next episode of Let's Pause to Listen. In this one we will have a real blast from the past. In the last 25 years there have been loads of Mortal Kombat, Tekken and Soul Calibur games. But it's a surefire bet that Street Fighter 2 was that one fighting game that stuck in the memory of gamers as well as non-gamers for its unique visual style, its gameplay mechanic and its overall cultural impact and influence on future games as well as other media outlets. I mean, who could forget the legendary fighting scene in the arcade hall of Jackie Chan's movie City Hunter?
For those of you who have played this game on Super Nintendo only, something might sound a little off just now. It is indeed the well-known soundtrack, you will think, but it sounds weird, not in the way you are used to. The reason is this thing right here. It is the Capcom Play System, or CPS, a system board which Capcom built into their video game cabinets in the late 80s, early 90s. The sound chip that was used on this board was the Yamaha YM2151, which was capable of producing the sound you are hearing right now. And it is a horrible one. No depth, no resolution, just terrible and edgy.
You lose!
If there weren't any other versions of the music, then this would be the normal sound, of course, the standard. But in this video, we are not interested in the Yamaha chip sound. We care for this sound. And this sonic update is done by these two beautiful bastards.
You win!
They are responsible for the great sound era that was presented to us by the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It's the sound chip SPC700 and the digital signal processor that Sony developed for Nintendo. This is why the music you are listening to right now sounds this great, and that's exactly why we will be using the SNES version of the Street Fighter 2 soundtrack for this video. It was and still is a formidable game. The visual presentation is multifaceted, which is essential if you are making a game with lots of fighters coming from all around the world and giving them their respective stage. All these stages have a background that is stuffed with things which are more or less stereotypical for the home country of a fighter. And to make the experience even more exotic, the music tries to do the same. It includes either scales and harmonies, or it uses instruments that reminds you of the specific region. Some of the tracks do that extraordinarily well, but a few of them don't. For instance, the Zangief theme. There is literally nothing Russian in there. I mean, as far as I know. The melody could probably be a well-known song in Russia. If so, then please let me know. But Comrade Zangief makes up for that in the ending. My god, this is by far my most favorite ending. Did you know that if you finish the game with Zangief, he rocks out Soviet style? This is hilarious. The first time I saw and heard this, I couldn't stop laughing. Comrade Mikhail Gorbachev and Zangief go all kinds of crazy and they start to dance a Cossack dance called Kasachok together. As you can see, this dance is pretty stressful for your knees. The music which they are dancing to seems to be inspired by the Kasachok S-SMP Ending. I've put a link down below for this one so that you can compare. The distinguishing mark of the Kasachok is the interaction of the bass line and one dominant percussion instrument, let's say a snare for example. The dance is in common time. The bass line plays on beat while the percussion plays in between, therefore off beat. Just add a nice Russian melody on top of that and you got yourself a Kasachok. But now we have to leave Mother Russia and fly to the country of the game's origin.
Japan!
The homeland of Ryu and Edmondo Honda. These two iconic fighters have different fighting styles and skills, but they share one basic theme of their respective area, and that is of course Japanese. While Ryu fights outside with beautiful and typical Japanese rooftops in the background, Honda fights in a Japanese bath. Honda's theme is the one with more traditional instruments of his home country. It's hard to sound them out properly, and God knows I'm no expert in Southeast Asian instruments. What you can hear are simple wooden or bamboo sticks called hyoshigi, and some bongos that play the rhythm part. The not that spectacular melody is represented by a sound that is what I assume trying to mimic a bowed string instrument called kokyu. All this is accompanied with a plucked instrument that could be the so-called koto, a zither-like instrument that is almost 2 meters long, and in this case it has 13 strings. There is not much to say about the melody except that it is downright boring compared to the theme of Ryu. Now that one is earworm food. It is not played by traditional Japanese instruments except for the hyoshigi sticks, but who cares? It is a magnificent piece of music. The most iconic part is the unmistakable bass line which stays true to its rhythm throughout the entire track. Here we also meet something that we can find in a lot of tracks of this game. Off and on there are some minor, let's call them rhythmical hiccups, just like this. It amazes me how you can get the flow of the music interrupted this briefly but still effective enough and then just move on as if nothing happened. This neat little trick illustrates a fighter being hit with a hard punch that throws him out of balance, but he recovers quickly and continues fighting. I mean, this is just brilliant. We don't have to go far to meet the next fighter. She is the only female character in this game, but no less iconic. Far from it. With her insanely fast kicks and her attractive appearance, the young woman from China became world famous even amongst non-gamers. And I cannot stretch that enough. Go see the movie City Hunter. Jackie Chan fights as Chun-Li in one scene. It's beyond funny. But back to the music, and with Chun-Li's theme we come to
how to make something sound Chinese.
One easy solution?
Use Chinese instruments. The other solution that is used here is using scales which originated in Southeast Asia. Basically everyone who started to learn how to play a guitar heard the term pentatonic early on. Penta means 5 in Greek, so this is a scale that contains 5 tones, hence pentatonic. We imported this scale into Western music by adapting it into our major-minor system. That's why there are major-minor pentatonic scales.
Every one of you who has seen a piano knows at least one pentatonic scale, and it's hiding in plain sight. Look closely. Do you see it? How about now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, the black keys. Well done. Every octave on the piano contains 5 black keys. The pentatonic mode depends on the key with which you start your scale. If you now go ahead and play these 3 notes in this fashion, and add another key that is always the second key to the left of each tone, you got yourself the most Chinese acoustic recognition feature there is. And in the very same way Chun-Li's theme starts out. Only not in E flat minor pentatonic, but a half tone lower, in D minor pentatonic. The melody follows the same rule, it only uses the 5 tones available in the scale. Hang on a minute, the melody just went ahead and played an E. But no worries necessary, the tone E is just foreshadowing a change in the harmony. The next few bars are going to be in A minor pentatonic. In this new set of tones, E is included. The harmony is switching back and forth accordingly to the movement of the melody. Before we go to my personal top 3 tracks of the game, let's have a short look on the rest of the tracks. Blanca's theme is the weak point of the soundtrack. His stage is clearly somewhere at the Amazon River in Brazil, and the rhythm part of this track does remind you of this moist and hot jungle surroundings, but the melody is killing the mood for me, especially with its weak ending before the loop, like the composer gave up the already bad melody right there. Dhalsim's stage couldn't get any more Indian, and neither does its soundtrack. I truly admired the sound design on this one, how it really conveys the tone of this huge subcontinent. This theme isn't bad, but it can get annoying soon, and you might want to win this fight quickly. An honorary mention deserves the theme of the boxer Balrog. This music is nothing special, but it is still good and works with a colorful Las Vegas background.
The last 2 warriors come from Thailand. Now I need you guys to enlighten me because I have an honest question. Are the people from Thailand known for having a bad feeling for rhythm? Does this prejudice exist? Are the Japanese making fun of the Thai fellows with the last 2 tracks because they are a complete rhythmic mush?
What sticks out the most in Sagat's theme is this lingering harmony throughout the track. This is what is known as paddle point in musicology. It is a tone or a chord that can be sustained for several bars and can represent the harmonic bass. The name paddle makes sense when you know that the paddle point was invented in the Baroque era and was normally played in the lower bass register. This register was then played with feet on organ pedals. In this case we have a double internal pedal, meaning that there are two notes playing simultaneously in the middle register. In Saget's theme we have a double pedal with an interval of a perfect fifth. This so-called open or empty fifth has the effect of a floating, hovering sound because of the missing major or minor third. The combination of a rather weird trumpet melody and a drum section that has no clue about what the hell it is doing, and all of this moving freely around this floating double pedal creates a beautifully stressful acoustic environment in which Saget can hand you your ass back. Mr. Bison's theme starts out awesome with this great bass line, and the first thing you can hear is also the first thing that you can see when you fight him, a bell. But just a few seconds into the melody the percussion becomes all frantic, and with the acceleration of the track with every hit and second, this one really gets hard to listen to.
I hate this acceleration thing altogether. I get its purpose, the reasons behind it are legit, but I'm a person who strongly believes that every piece of music has its own true tempo, its natural habitat if you will. Although remixes do have different tempos than their originals, but even they have a sweet spot in the range of beats per minute. If you force the music out of its tempo in such a manner, you're kinda killing it for me a little bit.
And now to my personal top 3. I love this one since the first time I heard it. The soundtrack of Vega's stage is the most passionate and fiery one of the game. It's no wonder when you know that the tall blonde narcissistic denier of everything ugly, who fights with claws and protects his beautiful face with a mask, comes from Spain. The former matador and excellent cage fighter presents us his stage in what appears to be a tavern of some sort, with the cage inside of it and with flamenco dancers in the back. This calls for some hot Spanish music. The rhythm part I just played for you so gracefully is played by trumpets throughout the whole track, and it drives this unstoppable abundance of passion. Like in all other tracks, this melody is also as long as the loop. It rides along as the track moves forward and builds up a fantastic climax right before the repetition of the loop. What I'm missing here are typical percussion sounds like clapping of hands, castanets, and the overwhelming sound of a flamenco dancer's heel hammering on a stage. The weird thing is that all of these are used in later versions of Vega's theme, but none of the new tracks actually work for me. They all sound a little thin and weak compared to the SNES version. Maybe it's because of the amazing usage of the drums and the bass in the Nintendo version why it sounds so good and strong.
Ken's and Guile stages have what appears to be the most popular tunes in all of Street Fighter, and the choice of the music genre to be hard rock makes perfect sense. In the time this game came out, many variations of hard rock and heavy metal enjoyed some of the highest selling numbers and popularity in the US, as well as all around the world, due to the success of bands like Metallica, Nirvana and Guns N' Roses, just to name a few. In the spirit of using indigenous music and sounds for the guys from the US as well, rock works a little better than jazz or country music for a fighting game.
Ken's theme gets an intro that is not repeated in the loop. The bass drum plays on beat in the first bar and off beat in the second to create a rhythmic lag before the guitar riff just takes off and rocks the living hell out of this track. To the rhythm guitar comes the lead guitar and shreds the melody that is divided by a trumpet solo into two parts.
Sonic boom!
Guile's theme doesn't get a guitar riff. Instead, it starts off with an epic trumpet fanfare and a trumpet melody afterwards. Although I have to say that a leading guitar would have been also perfect. The military background gives enough reason to use the trumpet, but a fighter jet in the back also kinda wants me to listen to music like the Top Gun anthem from Harold Faltermeyer and Steve Stevens, with its heroic and graceful leading guitar. But still, Guile's theme is incredible, and we love it even after over a quarter of a century. That's how you create timeless music. And as we can see in this game's soundtrack, that there are a lot of vital factors you have to consider to make that happen. Factors like hardware and the right sound chip that is capable to produce a richer sound. Choice of instruments as far as the MIDI sound can reproduce them properly. Sound design of course, choice of rhythm, scales and harmony. Everything that makes up an appropriate acoustic ambience for each stage, and soundtrack treats for all the world to enjoy. And in Street Fighter 2, they made all of this happen so brilliantly that the later games can barely keep up sound-wise, even though this one came out on the good old Super Nintendo.
I hope you had fun with my video on the music of Street Fighter 2 and that you want to stay tuned to my channel by hitting that subscribe button because my next video is already in the making. So until that time, I wish you my very best and thanks for listening.